Good morning. Welcome to Sales Systems on behalf of the Colorado Small Business Development Center. My name is Molly Box McCarty. I'm the owner of Prairie Sage Creative and Molly Box Artwork here in Fort Collins, Colorado. You can find more about me at prairiesagecreative.com or mollyboxartwork.com. I have over 12 years of experience working in marketing and design, both as an employee for different companies, corporations, governmental agencies, and nonprofits, but more as a freelancer for Prairie Sage Creative, where I specialize in helping nonprofits, small businesses, and individuals with marketing and design help at a professional level, but at an affordable rate. Basically, as an employee, I noticed that for small businesses, nonprofits, and individuals, there really weren't too many options other than either hiring an employee or contracting with an expensive agency in order to do the things every business needs to do, like whether it's a full rebranding, a la carte designs, logo design, website, printed materials, web graphics, photography, social media management, illustration. There's the need for that, but companies don't always have the budget for an employee or a large agency. So I started my business as basically filling in those gaps, providing a la carte services for different companies and individuals without having to hire a full-time staff. So Prairie Sage Creative kind of fills in those gaps. One of those gaps is one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, different sales systems. So I can speak from the experience not only as an individual artist who uses these services, but also the experience and knowledge I've learned in helping my clients set up these sales systems as well. Just to give you a little bit more background about who we are and what we do, I'm doing this presentation today on behalf of Colorado SBDC. Here's a little bit more about what they provide for local businesses and how to get started with connecting to resources, different training, and confidential consulting. Hopefully this presentation today will help you on that path, and there's always more resources available through SBDC whenever you might need them. All right, and let's just jump right into what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to do an overview of the different sales system platforms, the most common ones like Square, Venmo, PayPal. We'll talk about and some of the other ones that are a little bit smaller but are still available that you could use, some of the pros and cons to each different platform, and then some of the tips that I give my clients on using these different ones, and hopefully that will help you get started. The benefits of online sales. Why should you take the time to set up these electronic sales systems? As an individual or small business, or even as a large business, this is really the way that the world is going. When I first got started doing different trade shows or selling artwork in person, you always had a cash box and we're taking cash and checks and making change. But as the world has been moving more and more to digital and electronic, people expect to be able to only use credit cards, online sales, use their cell phones for payment, and especially with some of the trends that we've seen like the pandemic, people are using cash less and less. So if you are wanting to do any type of sales, really you'll need to have in this day and age some of these different online payment systems. So some of the different sales platforms that you've probably heard about or might even use some of are Square, PayPal, Venmo are probably the most common, but we'll go into some of the other ones that are also available and some of the good things and bad things about those different platforms. Square. You have probably at some point either used Square yourself to pay for something at a business or a farmer's market, or maybe even have it yourself. Some of the different pros and cons for Square, it's been around for quite a long time. It was actually the first electronic payment system that I ever signed up for. There's some really good things about Square. Like a lot of the payment systems, it has a low fixed rate, 2.6 currently, which really has not grown much over the last few years. I believe when I first started with Square 8 or 9 years ago, it was 2.3, and it's only grown to about 2.6. And they also charge an additional 10 cents per swipe. So you know how much ahead of time is going to be taken out of each transaction that you do. They don't charge a monthly or annual fee, which is nice. So if you do events like Comic-Con or other ones throughout the year, you're not going to be charged for the months that you may or may not be making sales. You can sign up with no contract. It's very easy to use. They provide you with a free swipe card reader so you can take sales in person with people who have credit cards. It has a free point of sale app that you can run either on your phone or a tablet to also do in-person sales. It's all in one. Everything is integrated within the app, connected to your bank account. One of the biggest pros I think about Square is that you can accept offline payments. How often are we at an event where you're supposed to have internet or you're supposed to have data and something happens and you don't, and you still need to take payments? I've had this happen before, and that is probably the biggest pro I feel about Square, is that you can accept those offline payments even if you don't have internet or you can't connect to Wi-Fi. And the deposits go into your account very quickly with no additional charges to transfer. Some of the problems though with Square are they don't have very strong customer support. It's one that, since it is such a large payment system, if you have an issue or you have trouble, it could be a long time until somebody gets back to you, and it's hard to get a hold of somebody if there's a problem. They do have some add-on services, but unfortunately they're pretty expensive. And since they do have a flat rate pricing, if you're doing lots and lots of sales as opposed to just small ones throughout the year, it can start getting expensive. More and more businesses now, as you've probably seen, have moved entirely their point of sale system to Square. But if you start adding up how much that is, 2.6% and 10 cents for every single transaction, if you're doing lots of them every day, that can start to add up to quite a high charge. And some high-risk businesses aren't accepted. So you'll want to do a little bit of research whether or not your business falls into that category. PayPal. All of us have probably heard about PayPal since it was one of, if not really the first online payment system that was commonly used online and through different websites. Some of the pros of PayPal: it's very easy to use. Everybody's probably used it at one point or another to purchase something. So it's also easy to use as a vendor. It takes security and fraud prevention very seriously. It has a lot of different two-step verifications. There's a lot that goes into setting it up to make sure that everything is secure and prevented from fraud. And that is one nice thing. If you have somebody who purchases from you using PayPal and something happens and it's a fraudulent charge either as a vendor or a customer, you can usually rectify the situation and get money back yourself or to your customer. It encrypts your bank and credit card information, which keeps it safe. And there's no fees for sending money to friends and family. It also has a similar transaction fee to Square, where they charge a small percentage for every single charge that goes through. It's usually on par, about the 2.6 range, so it's pretty comparable to Square. Some of the problems with PayPal is while it is free to use to send to friends and family, if you're using it as a business transaction, you will be charged those fees similar to Square. It also charges a 1% fee if you want instant access to your money. And the bank transfer usually takes a little bit longer than Square does. If you are wanting money, it's usually 3 to 5 days as opposed to 1 or 2 days that Square has. But again, if you don't need that money instantly, it will transfer to your bank for free. And PayPal does have a reputation for being very aggressive with account freezes. It's one of those pros and cons where they are very good about security. It's probably the most secure online payment system, both as a customer and a vendor. But if something happens, and I actually have had this happen in an event when they thought there was a fraudulent charge detected, it took a lot of time to get the account unfrozen, which did cause a major problem when something happens like that. If you're in person interacting with the public and suddenly you don't have access to your account, that is a problem. Another thing to think of with PayPal is even though it used to be an entirely online system and you used to have to have a PayPal account in order to use it, that was a major con that you and the person purchasing from you needed to have a PayPal account in order to buy something that was part of their security system. It's more secure if they know both sides are verified, but PayPal, in order to stay competitive with some of the other vendors, does now open up and take credit card fees or take credit card charges as opposed to just the person purchasing having a PayPal account. So it's expanded quite a bit and it's very close to Square also in what it provides. So I'd say Square and PayPal currently are probably the most widely used online payment systems. We'll cover some of the other ones. Venmo. Venmo is the hot and trendy one. You've probably heard about it, possibly used it. One of the great things and one of the reasons that Venmo has become as popular as it has is that it's quick and convenient. You can use it, people can just scan a QR code or make a request and transfer money quickly and easily. It's free to send money from a bank account or a debit card, which is another reason that Venmo has become as large as it has, is because the other systems, Square and PayPal, always take a fee per charge. Venmo started off on the basis that they were not going to charge fees for transactions. So all the transactions are free. However, they are starting to crack down on that, not only as far as charging taxes for transactions, which they previously didn't. Now they take credit card payments. So that was one of the things. You also had to have a Venmo account, and the other person had to have a Venmo account in order to do any type of transaction. They now have the low fee for credit card payments. So that makes it similar to Square and PayPal, where you don't necessarily have to have a Venmo account in order to use it, but they will charge you a transaction fee for doing that. You can pay for purchases at select businesses directly without that fee. They have a debit card and credit card that they offer to their customers, and it does add a social element to sending and receiving money. However, some of the cons with Venmo, like I previously said, in order to get that free transaction, both you and the person who is purchasing need to have a Venmo account. I'm sure you've had plenty of people ask you that. Do you have Venmo when you're trying to transfer money? Because it's free, but the other person has to have an account. So if you are a business, that can limit your sales if the person trying to purchase from you does not have a Venmo account. However, they can use a credit card, but it will charge a similar fee now to the other online systems. A major con is payments are public by default. A lot of people who are interested in social media and have accounts don't really have much of a problem with this. But if you are a business, all of the payments that you are receiving and making are automatically public for other people to see on the account. And that usually weighs into some issues with privacy, both for you and your customer, as well as tax issues, depending on whether the sales are personal, through the business, how you want to do those tax-wise, whether you need to pay taxes on it. So that is a problem, that it's very social media based. Another con is you can't cancel payments. There have been a lot of stories in the news of people having Venmo, somebody even taking their phone and transferring money through Venmo to their own account, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it really doesn't have the same security and fraud protection that some of the other ones, especially PayPal, have. You can't do any international transactions. So if you have somebody who is international and wants to purchase something, that you can't do that. And it is also very popular with scammers due to the low amount of protection and security and fraud prevention that Venmo has. So Venmo is great for quick, easy, cheap payments back and forth. But as far as a business, it definitely has some major cons that you're going to want to weigh. Others. You've probably used or heard of some of these different payment systems, and the people who love them really love them, but they're not quite as wide as the other payment systems, so there are some cons. So I'll just kind of run through and explain what some of these are and see if maybe there's something that you would be interested in using for yourself or your business. Apple Pay is becoming more and more popular. It is similar to the other payment systems in that you can send and accept payments backed by Apple, and it's very convenient because it's in your iPhone and in your iPhone app. So you can make a secure purchase anywhere that accepts Apple Pay and just hit a couple buttons on your phone. So if you decide you want to use Apple Pay as a payment system, it's great in that it's easy for your customers to use. They just need to hit a couple buttons to transfer money to you. The downside with Apple Pay and many of the others I'll cover today is they aren't as widely used, and the person who is paying you, while they are able to pay from their bank account, debit card, or credit card, both of you have to have an Apple Pay account in order to take that payment. The similar one to that is Google Pay, even though Google is very well known and most people now have Google accounts. It's very similar in that it's a payment system that is backed by Google. Your customer can store their credit card and payment information in their wallet, and that connects to their bank card, debit card, or credit card to pay you. So if you want to accept Google Pay, they can transfer you that money. But again, both of you need to have a Google Pay account in order to make that transaction. Some of the other ones that are gaining in popularity are similar to some of the larger systems, such as Skrill. Skrill is very similar to PayPal in that you can store your payment information and use it to pay other people. It charges 1.45% plus 50 cents to receive and send money. So that can end up adding up quite a bit, both for you and your customers, but it's probably comparable to PayPal. Dwolla is another one that is a payment alternative designed for smaller and medium businesses to pay customers, vendors, and other businesses. It does support large volumes of payments, so that might be a better option if you're a smaller, medium business doing more transactions. But again, it's only available in the United States. But depending on what you're doing in your business, that might not really be too much of a downside. Other ones you might have heard of. Zoom is an app that's available through PayPal, offering payments to 160 countries. So if you are doing international payments, that's one to definitely look at. It's easy to transfer money because you get 24/7 status updates and can send to the recipient's bank account, to a pickup location, or even the recipient's store. But if you're only sending money within the United States, Venmo is more convenient. So Zoom is kind of like the PayPal version of Venmo, but it does include international payments. Zelle is another one that has better banking payments. It allows you to send and receive money through bank accounts, and funds are available in minutes. Zelle is great because it does partner with quite a few US banks and credit unions, and it's integrated with several banking apps already, which if you have one of those banking accounts, it's actually one of the quickest, easiest, and most secure ways to send money. You're not charged any transaction fees. You can send it instantly. I actually use Zelle myself through Wells Fargo to send payments back and forth. But like a lot of the other payment systems, it's difficult because it only offers payments through bank accounts. So I use it to transfer money back and forth between friends and family that also have Wells Fargo and also have Zelle, because it's a way to transfer money back and forth without having to pay any transaction fees, and it's instantaneous as opposed to waiting a few days. But the other person also has to have a bank with Zelle and access to their Zelle account to go through. So it's a great way to send money back and forth, but it is fairly inconvenient as a payment system, either through a website or for an in-person type event. All right, now that we've kind of gone over a lot of the different payment systems and the pros and cons, especially regarding what the transaction fees are, how quickly you can get your money, the convenience for both you and your customers, here's some of the tips I would give you to figure out which online payment system is going to work best for you. As I always tell my clients, whenever we're starting with any project, whether it's social media, website, figuring out what to use, the first thing I always tell people is to identify your goals. Everything should be goal driven. And if you have a goal and a set end in mind of what you're wanting, that usually helps to inform your decisions of how to get there. So for you as an individual or as a business, identify what exactly it is you're trying to do. What size business do you have? How many transactions will you do? Are you looking at doing lots of transactions on a very regular basis, or some of those transaction fees could start to add up? Or is this something that you attend a few events in the summer, in the fall, different times of year, where you're only looking at paying when you're doing those transactions, and the account can kind of sit the rest of the time? That will help you to kind of differentiate between which one will work best for you. Another big one that I go over with all of my clients is, are most of your purchases online, in person, or both? Some of these different sales systems work really well through a website. Some work really well on your phone. Some are better for taking in-person money, or are you looking at something for both? For example, most of the time, Square is the one that has the ability to take purchases through a website. They can be connected to a website. You can take charges on your phone, and you even have the ability to record cash purchases if you take that. So if you're someone who's doing both, that might be your best option. However, if you are somebody who is only taking occasional online or in-person sales, Venmo could even be a good option for you. So take the time to sit down, go through a bit of a business plan, and figure out where most of your purchases are going to happen and which one most closely aligns with what your goals are. Another big question I usually ask is, do you need website integration? Many website platforms now, such as WordPress or Squarespace, have integration with some of those big apps. And it makes sales so much easier if you can integrate an already existing sales platform and even move over items that you sell through a website, as opposed to trying to set it up separately. For example, through my own web art sales, I started 10 years ago by using Etsy to do sales, because at the time it was a much cheaper payment option both for selling and taking payments. They only charged, I think, a 20 cent per month fee to list the sales, and then took a small percentage similar to PayPal with a sale. But over the years, it became more and more difficult to have a website that had all the information about my artwork and then kick people to a third-party platform in order to actually make the sales. But now, Squarespace integrates extremely well with both Square, Stripe, and PayPal, where you basically just plug in your account information, and then it can take all of those sales for you through your website without pushing somebody to another website. So if you're looking at website integration, Square, PayPal, some of those might be the better option, and you might want to do some investigating on your website platform and see what payment apps connect to it with the most ease. And again, think of security versus ease of use. When going through all the different payment systems, the big differentiation is security. The ones that are more secure, such as PayPal, usually have you go through more steps. They usually charge higher fees, but they offer a lot more if something happens, something goes wrong, something's fraudulent. But you also have ease of use with something like Venmo. If you're doing a smaller amount of sales, you can have people buy something quickly and easily and not have to worry about a lot of the other issues. However, if there is something that is fraudulent, you're really kind of on your own. So it's a good time to weigh the amount of liability that you're comfortable having with your sales. Another tip I usually give a lot of my clients is if you're starting to get overwhelmed with all the different options and what you can have and what there's so many different things, and they're going through all these different things and they still feel like, I'm not sure which one is absolutely the best for me. I say, sign up for multiple accounts, have multiple options for customers. Even though you might want to have Square, for example, be your primary payment system, there's nothing wrong with also signing up for a PayPal account or a Venmo account, or offering Square and Zelle or Square and Dwolla. You can have multiple options for your customers, because a lot of times that makes the sales go easier and quicker when you can offer whatever it is your customer is most comfortable with. Like I mentioned earlier, when you think back to PayPal, when it used to be you had to have a PayPal account in order to buy anything through PayPal, they had to open it up to credit cards because some people just didn't want to sign up for a PayPal account. And same with some of the other ones. People might just not want to sign up, get a new app. So they want to pay in the way that's most comfortable for them. And you never want to turn away a sale if somebody's standing right in front of you. So usually I say, sign up for multiple accounts and multiple options, and be prepared. If you have a customer that wants to pay credit card, online, offline, cash, check, make sure that you are available to take any one of those and be able to record it to make the sale and make your life easier down the road. Also, I say to try them out ahead of an event. One of the easiest things I do tell my clients to do is always make sure that you have a separate business account. It's pretty easy to go to whatever your bank is, set up a separate account for your business, then sign up for these accounts where you already have your bank account number in hand, your routing number in hand, everything you need for your business that will set you apart from your personal finances, and then try it out. You can buy some things through your website, buy some things through Venmo, have sales go in and out, get comfortable using them ahead of the event so that once you do have people in front of you, everything goes as smoothly as possible. All right, just kind of wrapping up, the only other thing I would tell you is for the additional resources, do some research on all these different platforms and what will work best for you. Sign up for a couple, test them out, see how it goes before the event. And also, if you have any questions about the different payment systems, as far as signing up for them, what information you need to have, anything else about performing online sales and the different sales systems, feel free to contact me at any time at prairiesagecreative@gmail.com or hop onto my website at prairiesagecreative.com. I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to give this presentation today, and I really hope it helped you dive into and kind of sort out the world of different payment systems and what's going to work best for you. I wish you the best of luck at ComCon, and make sure that you follow Larimer SBDC on social media for upcoming events, daily updates, small business tips, and insights. Thank you.